Did you know that in 1692, over 200 people were accused of witchcraft in Salem, Massachusetts, and 20 were executed? It's a shocking reminder of how fear can take control of a community and lead to devastating consequences. Welcome to the Curse Breakers. Today we're diving into one of the darkest chapters in American history, the Salem Witch Trials. Picture this: Massachusetts, 1692. A time when superstition and fear dominated everyday life. The Puritan community was already on edge, dealing with tensions from various fronts: political strife, land disputes, and even a recent war with Native Americans. Add a sprinkle of teenage boredom and a dash of paranoia, and you have a recipe for disaster. The Salem Witch Trials were not just a series of court cases. They were a full-blown social catastrophe fueled by fear, mistrust, and a desperate search for scapegoats. So, buckle up as we explore how this hysteria unfolded and the dire consequences it had on countless lives. Now let's rewind a bit and look at how we got to the trials. It all started with a group of young girls in Salem Village who began exhibiting strange behaviors: fits, screaming, and even claiming to see spirits. Sounds like a scene straight out of a horror movie, right? But here's the twist. These girls were just bored and looking for attention. The adults, however, were quick to jump to conclusions. The town's existing tensions and religious fervor fueled a witch hunt. Quite literally. Enter key figures like Reverend Samuel Parris, who was more concerned about his reputation than the truth, and Tituba, an enslaved woman whose confessions ignited the flames of hysteria. The accusations spiraled out of control, with neighbors turning on each other. Friends became foes as people began naming anyone who had ever wronged them or who simply didn't fit the Puritan mold. The fear was palpable. Everyone was on edge, wondering who would be next. The community was gripped by paranoia, and soon, the trials became a means of settling personal scores rather than seeking justice. Before long, the courts were overloaded with cases. The infamous Court of Oyer and Terminer was established, and the legal system turned into a farce. Spectral evidence, testimony about what the accused spirit allegedly did, became a key factor in trials, even though it was based on nothing but fear and fantasy. The conditions were ripe for disaster, and the stage was set for a perfect storm. Now let's talk about the peak of this chaos. One trial that stands out is that of Rebecca Nurse, a well-respected elderly woman in the community. Her trial exemplified the madness of the time. Despite her good character and the support of many townsfolk, she was accused of witchcraft. The courtroom was electric with tension, spectral evidence was presented, and it didn't matter how many people vouched for her character. Fear had taken hold. When she was found guilty and sentenced to death, it sent shockwaves through Salem. How could this happen? A beloved member of the community condemned to death without solid evidence. This moment marked a turning point. More and more people began to realize how ridiculous the trials were becoming, but by then, it was too late. The fear of being accused was stronger than the desire for justice, and the executions continued. People were hung, and others were pressed to death. The chaos was at its peak, and the community was left reeling as sanity slipped further away. But as all hysteria does, this one began to subside. The turning point came when influential figures, including the governor of Massachusetts, started to question the validity of the trials. Public opinion began to shift, and the reliance on spectral evidence was increasingly seen as absurd. The trials that had once seemed like a necessary evil now appeared to be a dangerous overreach of power and paranoia. As the dust began to settle, the remaining trials were finally halted. By 1693, the court was dissolved and many of the accused were released. The realization that innocent lives had been lost in the name of fear and superstition weighed heavily on the community. The trials left scars that would take generations to heal, and the fear that gripped Salem was a stark reminder of what happens when sanity is cast aside. Reflecting on the Salem witch trials, we can see that this dark chapter in history serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mass hysteria and the importance of justice. It reminds us that in times of fear, it's crucial to hold on to reason and sanity. The trials led to significant changes in the American legal system, emphasizing the need for fair trials and the protection of individual rights. Moreover, the trials highlighted the consequences of a society that lets fear dictate actions. They remind us that when we allow paranoia to reign, innocent lives can be lost. and communities can be irrevocably torn apart. The lessons learned from Salem are still relevant today, so let's not forget the past and strive to ensure that sanity prevails, even in the most tumultuous times. All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the Salem Witch Trials. What do you think? How do you think the trials could have been avoided? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more historical content. Check out our next video about other pivotal moments that shaped America. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.